Hi, my name is Shan and welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and books. Happy New Year, happy 2022. Hope you're all having a safe and happy holidays. This is the first video that I'm uploading this year because the holiday season is crazy and chaotic, and yeah. So I figured this is the absolute perfect video to start the year off. I know there's a lot of like end of year videos that I haven't done, but you guys know that I always talk about Jan. I'm like the biggest Jan fan at this point, but she created a beginning of the year book tag, which is absolutely perfect. One, because her name is Jan and this is the January book tag, which is so clever, but also there aren't any like beginning of the year book tags. So this is the best video to start the year off in my opinion. So of course I had to do it because yeah, I love Jan. And if you haven't done this video and you make bookish videos, then definitely do this as well. And yeah, let me get into the questions. If there's things moving in the background, it's because my child is moving things in the background. I tried to distract him with some snacks and some toys, but let's see if we can get this tag done. So the first question is, what was the last and the first, if you remember, book you read last year? Okay, so I have kind of like double answers for both these. So the first book that I read was actually a reread, or the first two books were rereads in 2021 because I started January in a bit of a reading slump. So I started off by rereading Heartstopper volumes 1 and 2, which, you know, rereading a favorite and also Heartstopper is always a great way to get out of a reading slump. So in the beginning of the year, I reread these so that I could read volume 3 for the first time. So yeah, in the beginning of 2021, I reread 2 books, and then so whichever one you count as my first read is my first read. Obviously, everyone knows what these are. They are just the cutest little graphic novel series, and yes, if you ever need to get out of a reading slump, I recommend rereading something that you love or reading Heartstopper because this is just everything. And then again, I kind of have like a double answer for my last read of 2021 because it was technically a DNF. I was reading How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days, which I thought was going to be like a fun little silly goofy romance, but I was not enjoying this and I did not want to start 2022 in a reading slump, so I just decided to DNF this book, and that was my last read of 2021. But my last book that I actually finished in 2021 was The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. This one is a mystery thriller and I was super excited about it because I thought it was going to be like Big Little Lies, which I loved, and yeah, I didn't super love this. I gave it like 3 stars. I thought like some of the things in it were predictable, but it was a really fast read, so it was good to read towards the end of the year because I flew through it in like a day and a half, maybe 2 days. But yeah, it's just about these like rich women and a murder, and yeah, it was a fun time, but it wasn't an all-time favorite, unfortunately. Okay. And the next question, what is your first read this year? Yeah. So I was participating in Winterween, which just ended. So my books for Winterween, which I didn't do a TBR, I didn't do a vlog. So yeah, I'll share my Winterween reads here, which it's summer in Australia. So anyway, I read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This is also Chloe's Patreon buddy read for the month, so I figured it was perfect. I have seen the movie, so I did know what the twist is and I knew like the major plot points, but I figured it's been like a fair few years since I've watched the movie, so I thought like hopefully I'd forgotten some things, but I think it was still like a really enjoyable book even though I knew what was gonna happen. And I really liked the writing style, so if you haven't read Gone Girl, I would recommend it, but everyone recommends this. So this was my first completed book of the year, and on the same day I also completed The Grown Up, also by Gillian Flynn. This is like a super short novella because one of the prompts for Winterween was like a novella. And this was really good also. These were both 5 stars. And this is like a little horror where there's this woman who grew up, I guess, really poor. She was like homeless. Her and her mum used to beg for money. And then she ends up being like this fake psychic where she's like trying to scam people out of their money. And this woman needs her help to like cleanse her house. So she goes to pretend to cleanse her house just to get this woman to give her money. And yeah, there's like this little haunted house thing and it's really fun. So recommend both of these. So a great start to 2022 as well with these. Next question is, share 3 of your reading goals this year. I was going to do a whole video on my goals for 2022. I don't know if I still will. Are people even interested in that, or are we over it? I don't know. But I'll share, I guess, some of the goals that I have. First of all, my Goodreads reading goal for the year is 22 books. Last year it was 21 books. Before that, I used to make it 100 books, which I did read 100 books last year. But then in 2020, I made it 100 books and then I was just not having a good year and I barely read any. So to be safe, I made it 22 books because that's pretty achievable. And then if I happen to reach 100 books, then that's great. Another one of my reading goals for this year is to do the buzzword reading challenge that Books and Lala created, which I did try to do that last year, but that's a different question. And then I also want to read more new releases this year, so I'm gonna try and aim for like 1 2022 release per month, maybe. I'm thinking 3 of your most anticipated titles. I did do an entire video on my anticipated reads. I only talked about 10. There are, I'm sure, more, but I just didn't want to keep talking about them, so I'll link that video below, which has 10 of my anticipated reads for 2022. So I'll share 3 books that weren't in that video, so if you want to see 10 more, go to that video. But 3 that I didn't mention because I didn't know about them or they weren't on my radar. One is, there is a new book by Akweke Emezi that comes out this year and I did not know about it. So it's called You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty and it's supposed to come out on the 24th of May. And I loved The Death of Vivek Oji, so super excited to read more from this author. Another one is the sequel to Tokyo Ever After. I read that at the end of the year. So yeah, now I'm looking forward to the sequel. And I know a lot of people have probably mentioned this one, but I am halfway through reading Beach Read by Emily Henry and I'm loving it so far. So I'm looking forward to Emily Henry's new release, which I think is called Book Lovers. So yeah, there's 3 books that I didn't mention in that other video. Didn't really give synopsi for those, but next question is, which goals did you reach/not reach last year? Like I was saying about the buzzword reading challenge, I didn't really complete it because last year my goal was to complete the buzzword reading challenge, but I wanted to use an Australian book or Australian authored book for each one, which just ended up making it way too hard for me because 2 of my goals were reading more Australian authors and then completing the buzzword challenge, and I tried to combine them, but this year we're just gonna have them be separate. So those are both goals for this year, but they're going to be separate because yeah, didn't complete the buzzword challenge because it was like getting overwhelming trying to find not just books that fit the word but books that were also Australian. So did not complete that, but I feel like I did read a lot of Australian books last year, so that goal was kind of like a half complete and half didn't. So yeah, that's what I didn't complete last year. I did complete my Goodreads goal because like I said, it was 21 books and I read over 100. The next question is, are there 2022 releases that you've heard of that you have no desire to read? Of course. I think some of the books that people are most excited about is the new Sarah J Maas book. I don't care about that. The new Cassandra Clare book. I don't care about that. The new Jennifer L. Armentrout book in that like romance fantasy series. Also don't care about that. So yeah, sorry if you're excited for those. I'm super happy for you if you are anticipating those. Like, I'm excited for people being excited, but they're not books that I'm going to read. What are some reading habits you want to change this year, if any? Another part of my reading goals is to get better at reviewing books instead of just putting like the star rating on Goodreads. So I'm gonna try and type out like at least a couple of sentences of my thoughts on the book. And also like in wrap-ups, I do want to get better at reviewing books in words that make sense. And also in terms of reading habits, one of my goals is for my buying habits. I'm writing down some places that I want to focus on buying my books from them rather than from Amazon, because I want to support businesses that I actually want to support and not Amazon. So that's another goal. Next one, are there any adaptations you're excited about? Honestly, adaptations really scare me now. I mean, I know that Daisy Jones and the Six is getting an adaptation. Don't know if that's coming out this year. And there's also that Heartstopper adaptation, but Anxious People was one of my favorite books of last year, and I started watching the adaptation the other day and I don't really like the first few episodes, so yeah, adaptations kind of scare me. I mean, Daisy Jones and Heartstopper are ones that I hope are going to be good, but sometimes they just don't turn out in the same way that the books do. So, favorite bookish memory of last year? So many. I feel like 2020. I feel like 2021 was just a really fun year for me in terms of books and booktube, because it was the year that I actually started like doing things consistently and making friends and stuff, which that is probably my best memory. Obviously I have good memories about reading the actual books, like I have memories that are happy associated with the books that I've read, but I feel like when I think about this year in terms of books, I think about like the friendships and the booktube things that I've done. So I tried to participate in a lot of book clubs this year, and I do talk about the same book clubs all the time. You're probably sick of me hearing about it, but the We're All Booked book club, which is run by Lacey D. Bell and Sadie from the Library Lane, I participated in some discussions for those, which is a good memory. And then Jan asked me to co-host one of the months of her book club, which is the Full Moon book club. So I did that one, even though we didn't really love the book that we read that month. It was still a fun experience to co-host with her that month. And then I was also on a couple of reading sprints on Jan's channel, which for me didn't go so smoothly because, as we know, I have an interrupting child, but I just made some really good bookish friends in the last year. I made friends with April after I did that video about reading her favorite books. We obviously have children that are the same age, so we then bonded over that, so that is a fun memory. And we buddy read Dark Emu together, which that is a fun memory. And I also buddy read some books with Michaela, which those were fun bookish memories for me. I don't know, I just had a lot of fun in 2021 with books. And I hope that 2022 is just as good, if not better. The last question is carryovers from last year that you still plan on finishing. Like I said, my last read was a DNF because I was like, I'm not gonna keep reading things that I'm not enjoying. But I did like start a couple of pages of some other books that I haven't continued on in January yet. The first one is My Body by Emily Ratajkowski, which is essays, and it's like a really quick read, but I only read like a little bit of it, and because it's essays, obviously they're all like separated into sections. I literally read a couple of pages. And I also went to start Will Smith's memoir, which this is like quite a chunky book in comparison to this one, so this one's going to take me a bit longer, but I do have the audiobook. But I just put these down because I started Winterween on like the 3rd day of the year, and like I said, Christmas is a busy time. We have family staying pretty much most of January, so I had people at my house. It was crazy, so I just haven't really read that many books, but I do plan on finishing both of these. I mean, finishing, I've read like literally a couple pages of each, so can you even count that as a carryover? I don't know. But other than that, I don't have any other carryovers because I, like I said, DNF'd that one book. But yeah, that was all the questions for this tag. Definitely do this tag if you make videos. Should I tag some people? I don't know. I know Jan probably tagged like a lot of the people that I can think of, but I'm gonna tag some of my booktube friends that Jan maybe hasn't tagged, I'm not sure. So I will tag April from April East Maximus, Lacey from Lacey D. Bell, Sasha from Sash Reads, Michaela from Michaela Reads, and yes, anyone else who makes videos. I can't think right now because I have a wild child. But we're gonna go. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll have a lot of other content coming out soon. Like I said, I still do have, what are you honestly doing? I still do have like my favorite books of the year, my stats, my reading goals for this year, all that sort of beginning of the year, end of last year content that I haven't done at all. So I don't know, do people still care about that? If you do, I will be making those videos soon. I would be making another one right after this, but I think we have to go. What do you think? Bye. Yeah. You say bye? You say bye? Bye to the camera. Say bye. Say bye. Anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate you so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next video. Weirdo! You're a lizard.